Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu. So it's very glad that we're getting your association now, Prabhu. So we have a few questions. So can we start the questions, Prabhu, so that you can answer?
Yeah, lucky we are in Jagannath Puri, a good place for question and answer.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay.
So, Prabhu, our first question is that on May 28, 1977, the GBC representatives met Srila Prabhupada and asked him about how initiation would continue in the future. The specific questions asked were, in the absence of Srila Prabhupada, what is the...
Who told you that these questions were asked?
Oh, it's recorded, Prabhu, in May 28...
It's on a recording?
Yes, Prabhu. No, sir. It is as part of audio recording, May 28, 1977.
May 28th.
Yes, Prabhu. 1977. GBC went and asked these questions. From audio recordings, we got this question, two questions mainly. In the absence of Srila Prabhupada, what is the procedure for first, second and sannyasa initiations? This is one of the questions asked by the GBC member, represented by Satswarupa Prabhu.
So why were the GBCs there at the end of May? Was that a special meeting?
Not sure.
They never come at that time.
Yes.
What happened was, with Srila Prabhupada, he did call all the GBCs. And it was raining quite a bit. And then Prabhupada wanted us to settle up his will, divide up the temple so that at that point this question might have been brought. I wasn't aware that they did that. I do know that that was part of it, how the initiations will go on.
So, next question they ask is that, what is the relationship of the person who gives this initiation to the person he gives it to? So this is also one of the questions, among 5 questions.
You want me to answer them?
Yes, Prabhu. So question from our side is that, since you are a member of the GBC and signed the minutes of that meeting, that particular meeting, May 28, 1977, your signature is also there, Prabhu, in that minutes of meeting. Could you please explain what discussion within the GBC led to these particular questions? From the outside, it appears that if the GBC already understood that Srila Prabhupada intended to appoint some disciples as future acharyas, the more natural question would have been, who will initiate in the absence of Srila Prabhupada? And the second question about the relationship might not have been necessary. Instead, the focus is on the procedure, on the relationship between the initiator and the initiated. Could you kindly explain the circumstance and the internal deliberations that produce these two questions?
We met. Prabhupada sent us into a room and said, do you go make up my will? Okay? So we went in the room, and room about as big as this, big room on the ground floor, Krishna Bhavan guest house, and then they all started talking. And I was bored. I went to the Jamuna, took my bath. I always did that. I was very bored, always in GBC meetings. Instead of take 1 minute, they took 2 hours and appointed different committees and all this stuff, you know. So I went to Jamuna, came back, and they were still talking. So I didn't say a word in this meeting because they had their agenda. Tamal, especially, Kirtanananda, they had their agendas already, what they wanted. And they were just trying to convince the rest of them to go along with their agendas. So then we went into Srila Prabhupada's room after, and everybody comes in and they're, you know, Prabhupada wasn't very feeble at that time. He could still sit up and stuff. And he wasn't laying on the bed and like that. So they read everything to him, and he was silent, and then he started changing things. He said, why you didn't put Gurukrpa? Where's Gurukrpa's name? Why have you left him out? You know, and it just shows the direction they were going, because I always spoke up. They couldn't badger me or control me, and therefore they didn't like this. So they just thought Prabhupada was senile or old, and they just wouldn't catch it. They just dropped me out. And although, you know, I was a central point of the movement at that point, you know. So then, if that was May, that's when how the initiations will go on. There are too many people here sending letters asking for initiation, and previously for some years, all the way back to 75, 74, in the beginning, Prabhupada did everything. Chant on the beads, pick the name, everything. Then later, he had Pradyumna pick the names out of, you know, the Shastra. Always your first name is the letter of your spiritual name. I'm Gregory, I became Gurukrpa. Bhaktidas is Bill, he became Bhaktidas. Everybody in the beginning like this had it. They would take your first letter. So then later on, I would be away, people would be away, Prabhupada wasn't coming to certain places. Well, with me, you know, I'd say, Srila Prabhupada, I have 3 men that they've met the criterion for initiation, you know, and then he would tell me, you pick their name. One time I was personally with him and said, I have a man, and Prabhupada picked the name. Otherwise, he told me, you pick the name, you do the fire sacrifice, that's called Ritvik, and I am their spiritual master. Nothing mysterious about this. And that's what was the program, you know, for others also, I imagine. I don't know what everybody else did. But then they were sending temple presidents. Only GBCs were doing like this. Temple presidents were sending a stack of letters. I got 20 people, 30 people. So then it became overwhelming. And Srila Prabhupada at that time had no intention of leaving India. He said, I quit, I've gone, bring everybody here, you know. And so, it was just a step up. Now you go ahead, you don't have to ask me. If you think they're ready and they followed our guidelines, then you do it. Just do it, think you're ready. You know, you wouldn't have recommended them if you didn't think they deserved it. So he trusted his leaders, now you just do it. And that was that. So then Tamal, he tried to put his own, he tried to manipulate the whole situation. So Prabhupada said, well, who can do this, Ritvik? And Prabhupada said, who's ever closest. Like me, I was doing, why did he? Because I was doing already. And Prabhupada said, who's ever closest? And he said, well, what about Rameshwar? Yes, he can, and he can. And Prabhupada never mentioned the name. It was Tamal suggesting, can Jai Tirtha do it? Can Hridayananda do it? You know? And Prabhupada said, who's ever closest? It wasn't, this letter should be ripped up. This is simply a Tamal concoction. He wrote it, and the way he worded it, Prabhupada is, I don't know what exact the words, he's picked 11 and they turned that into successor. There was never mention of a successor. There was nobody fit. We were kids. Most of us were under 30 when Prabhupada left. I was under 30. I was 29. You know, how I am free from all anartha. No. So Prabhupada appointed a GBC and said, now you work this out. And so how things will go. But he never appointed one person. Now this letter has caused so much trouble, so many thousands of back and forth between what it means. It means nothing because Prabhupada never suggested these men. Tamal suggested them. And Prabhupada said, whoever, he was like, leave me alone, figure it out. You know, whoever's closest. And then as the months went on, there are a few months there where all the tapes disappeared. You know, and we know who was behind it. Srila Prabhupada was always being recorded. All the time. Even personally. When I went in his room by myself, I'd bring my tape recorder. I had 30 tapes of just me and Srila Prabhupada. Him talking to me after his nap or in the morning. And those tapes disappeared too. They were broken into my locker and taken. People knew about it. I always had a lot of recordings of me and Prabhupada. About him and Hansadura and Kirtanananda trying to be guru. He would confide in me. He would tell me things. I had it all on tape. And many things more. And those tapes disappeared.
Who is behind this?
It was Tamal Krishna, for sure. And then Sasvarup, he also was joined in. And they had, when Srila Prabhupada left at the 19th, I believe, or whatever it was, November, I was on my way to India, coming from Japan. I'd just been there about a month earlier. Srila Prabhupada wanted Bombay complete, and my duty was to collect $100,000 a month and send it, because he said, my last desire is to see Krishna Bombay temple complete. So we came and we were in Hong Kong, and we were in a Holiday Inn. You know, we had like 10 boys. I would book the room, and then everybody would gradually just come up. You know? So I was taking a shower in the morning, and then when Ramacharya opened the bathroom door and said, Prabhupada's left. And the first thing that hit my mind, the first thing, now who will control these guys? I knew all along, Prabhupada told me. He said they would not listen to me. And he said toward the end, if you are still thinking the spiritual master is a regular person, stop it. They were thinking, I've heard them say the old man fucked it up. I've heard them say, oh, he ruined it again. Probably they wouldn't listen. They would get money. And money is supposed to give to Srila Prabhupada, what do you want me to do with this money? But they had their own plan. They didn't ask Guru. They did what they wanted to do. Kirtanananda says to me on the balcony, 1977, Mayapur, no electricity usually at night. We were up on the second floor of the original building, the Lotus building. And I never liked this guy very much, and I kept away from him. I always used to tell Prabhupada, I don't like him. I talked about Tamal once. And Prabhupada said, yes, I have marked it. He's not a Vaishnava. These are the exact words. Yes, I have marked it. He is not a Vaishnava. I will rectify. Then he told him to go to China. But, Kirtanananda comes to me and he said, why are you giving money to Prabhupada? The communists are just going to come in and take over this place. Better you give it to me. Undermining Srila Prabhupada. I never talked to him again after that. I walked away from him. So this was widely spread. The anticipation was so fever after May, June, and up. At this time I came and sat with Srila Prabhupada he slept upstairs. There was an alcove with a fan, and it was rainy season. And I gave massage from 1 in the morning to Mangal Arti. That's a long time. And especially the power we were putting out in the kirtans at evening Arti, then I'd maybe get 2 or 3 hours sleep. And I never talked with him. I never interrupted his samadhi. Sometimes he would sleep in my lap, lay down and sleep. And sometimes his body would jerk and he'd start talking crazy things we read about in the Nectar of Devotion. And I was witnessing this one morning when he was jerking. He was laying on my lap. He had his head here. And his body was elevating, bang, bang, bang. Then he stopped. And then he told me, toilet. So I helped him to the toilet. There's a divider. There's a toilet, there's a divider, and I'm on the other side. Then he said, finished. He sit in his rocking chair. Srila Prabhupada was so cool. He goes like this. So I put his loda. He took his loda, and then the rest of the water, and he went, threw it on the wall. I started laughing. And then he told me the next morning, he said, last night I almost left my body. You see, transcendental. This they could not understand. They didn't understand. You can't understand Krishna until you surrender sincerely. Can't understand Prabhupada until you surrender sincerely. That's inner circle. Krishna has his inner circle, the 8 gopis. And from that it expands out. All living entities are in some circle. Just in the material world, it's the same. The blacks are with the blacks, the birds are with that circle, and the devotees are with that circle, like this. So Krishna has his inner circle, and Srila Prabhupada was in that inner circle as one of the downline. And then the Lord told him personally, I'm doing my Lord, I'm doing my Chaitanya pastimes. You must go and fulfill my desire. Prabhupada came directly from that. He has the spiritual body. He always had the spiritual body, but we couldn't see it because it was covered because of our black hearts. And when Chaito Darpana Marjanam, you clean that heart up, then your spiritual body starts manifesting itself also. And the material senses cannot act. So Prabhupada was totally spiritual. In Bombay once, yellow fever, they locked him up. We were there, 1971. We were there and he was coming to see him. And then the doctor came and said, you have to stay 3 more days. Prabhupada said, I have to go, I have programs to do. And Prabhupada said, I cannot get yellow fever. The doctor said, why not? He'd come from Africa. He didn't have an immunization. Prabhupada said, because when you put the iron into the fire, it becomes fire. He said, my body is spiritual. I cannot get material infection. So this is by service, surrender, and love, Prabhupada reciprocated. And then they started getting feverish. Oh, if he leaves, material calculation. I'm in charge of Europe. And then they wanted him to leave. And Prabhupada kept saying, I could stay 100 years or more. And Prabhupada felt it. When you're in someone's house and you feel they don't want you, you oblige them, you leave. Puri Maharaj talked with Srila Prabhupada, how can you leave these boys? They're just, you have to stay at least 10 more years. Prabhupada said, what can I do? They're Westerners. They're all hard-headed. I can do no more. Just like Jesus couldn't speak more. He said, I have more, but you're not ready. Prabhupada, he couldn't keep under control the Westerners. And when so many wanted him out, they wanted to go with their programs, then he left. So he didn't leave a name. He expects us to become up. Shraddha, Nishtha, Ruchi, all this. Going up to Baba and praying, Sneha, all of this. It's possible. Prabhupada convinced me of it. He'd yell at me, why aren't you a pure devotee yet? Why are you sleeping? Why you can't translate books? And so we had to do we needed guidance. Many devotees ran to Sridhar Maharaj. Many devotees later on were going to see Narayan Maharaj. And then, in this way, things got more broken up. And we weren't a unit anymore.
Yes. Further question is that before the May 28, 1977 meeting, who has actually drafted these 5 questions that came up to Srila Prabhupada, and were there any other GBCs who wanted the questions to be framed as who will be the direct successors of Srila Prabhupada?
I told you, he didn't talk about it. Not to my knowledge. There was no rumor or buzz. Oh, Prabhupada said he's going to be the leader. He never mentioned it. How can he? There was nobody fit. You know, we're all kids. The older guys were like between 5 and 10 years, like my age. I was in the middle. I joined in the early 70. I was 20. So Kirtanananda was 30. Bhavananda was 30. They were older, and they were like, not the same as us, because they've been contaminated by Maya. We were too young. We came from our family's house. I went to the military and right to Prabhupada. So we were really naive about how the world works. And no, Prabhupada never said anything like that.
Who has mainly framed these 5 questions, Prabhu, among JBCs? In the
I
discussion?
wouldn't know.
Okay.
Maybe it's always Tamal. Why was Tamal secretary? Why was he in that position? Nobody liked that. There were 11 GBCs. Each GBC had to spend 1 month a year being secretary, and nobody wanted it. It was very boring sitting around when you have your service and your temples and things to do. So, Srila Prabhupada, I mean, I'll just go real quick here, you know. Tamal was in India. After we all left and India wasn't the big place to go anymore, you know, I'm in Japan collecting all this money, the LA temple's selling tens of thousands of books, and the devotees had heard from the previous devotees, oh, India, you're gonna get sick, you're gonna get mosquito bites, and nobody wanted to come. So Tamal abruptly left his service as GBC of India with no permission. No permission at all. He just left. And then he went to America, then he broke up the temple. He got Vishnu Jana. He always would calculate. He Vishnu, I'll get this one, I'll get this one, and then he would go to the temples and take a brahmachari that was selling 30 books at the temple daily. Now he's only selling 30 books with him. What's the use? He wanted everything. The temple presidents all complained, and then Srila Prabhupada broke it. No, you go to China. You can't go back to America. Then, you know, I was in the room with all this, and he would fight Prabhupada, argue. Once I punched him on the arm real hard. I said, stop arguing with Srila Prabhupada. You know? So then he couldn't get into China. He was a broken man. Those that know, he was broken. This is in 76. And so he was in LA, he was in New York, and we all knew, you know, we knew mantras. We could give a very authoritative class. He couldn't learn mantras. So he was sitting there trying to learn and depressed. Then him and Dristadumi showed up in Honolulu, and nothing to do. Nothing to do at all. Nowhere to go. So then a few nights later, Srila Prabhupada called me and Tamal in the room at 12:30 at night. And we sat down, and then Srila Prabhupada said, my teeth are loose, my feet are swelling, like passing urine all the time. These are the first signs of death. So that's when Tamal got the big, bright idea. I will be the GBC, and I will control things from right next to Prabhupada. And so he was, not the GBC, the secretary. I'll be the secretary. So he was secretary from whenever that was, April or May or something of 76, all the way to the end. He tried to control everything.
So next question is about after the May 28 meeting, you signed the GBC minutes However, later you do not accept the understanding promoted by the 11 zonal gurus. What led to this change?
I just told you. There was no appointment. I know it. They knew it. I will use these words. I told Harikesh, I said, you're going to initiate people and let people call you Paramahamsa? This guy just took sannyas, and he was always a troublemaker. And you see what happened, how he fell down and ordered money. I knew his character. I said, you're going to let people do this? I said, you're a piece of shit. How are you going to let somebody call you this? And he just looked at me cocky and said, well, what are you going to do about it? The dam had already been broken open. And I was going to say, from November, after I was in Hong Kong, then we came to Vrindavan. And it was very quiet. It was cold. And everybody had left. And I came in the guest house to go to our room. Tamal was coming down the stairs. And I didn't say anything. He didn't say anything. And so the next big function was, I think, Ram Navami, to open the Bombay temple. December, January, February, not a word. None of these 11, so-called 11, did anything. And then they had a quiet meeting. Tamal was working the whole thing quietly from behind. So when they came to the Mayapur GBC meeting, they had their plan set up. And then it came up in the meeting that, I'm the guru of Germany, I'm this, I will initiate. And then Bhavananda, Harikesh said, I'm leaving tomorrow. First, not stay for Gaur Purnim. I'm leaving tomorrow, I have 60 people to initiate in Germany. I came out in so many ways, we were shock and awe. What? And then Bhavananda initiated, he was the first one there, 30, 40 people in Mayapur. And so then it was on, the game was on, we're gurus. And they started demanding Prabhupada's service on the same level, as Srila Prabhupada. And demanding to be met at the airport with garlands and kirtan, copying everything, and no substance, just show. And if you don't like it, you can go now. Oh, you're talking against me, so therefore my disciples, they will lose faith in me. Kick all Prabhupada devotees out.
So it's continuation. This is during May, June and July 1977. You spent considerable amount of time in Vrindavan while Srila Prabhupada was present there. Apart from the May 28 conversation, did ever Prabhupada hear Srila Prabhupada, ever you hear Srila Prabhupada discuss how initiation should continue after this physical departure? If so, could you kindly share those conversations?
Asked and answered. All right, go to the next one.
Yes,
I just answered you.
Yes, Prabhu. Your main thing is that
he didn't say anything.
Yes, Prabhu. So you recorded Srila Prabhupada personally many conversations, which is stolen by Tamal Krishna Maharaj, as you mentioned.
I cannot say, but I'm sure.
Okay.
He had some guy we know who was, had a criminal nature anyway, and he would get him to go do the dirty work.
Okay.
He didn't appoint. There's nothing to appoint.
Yes, Prabhu.
He said, it is all in my books 1,000 times. Now, if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, you'll understand. One has to become a realized soul, and then he can make other realized souls. But on this point, if I am not on I am not on the, Shiradika Madhava Yorapara, I am in that family. Because that family, Prabhupada is in it. So we are directly in that family, and that we are heading for that goal. But all these conditioned souls who don't know anything, they need to do sadhana bhakti. They need to be chastised. They need to feel love. They need a sincere devotee who's past anartha nivritti and who is fully in nishta. He's fixed. He can take. And by his service alone, Prabhupada's energy will come through him. Just like when I was in Japan, I didn't do nothing. I just agreed. Prabhupada did everything. And I trained all these boys. Trained them up. You know, they made them advance because they couldn't do it themselves. So if you are advanced enough and your aim is true and you want this bhava and prema stage and you don't care about this, I've seen last night at a Jagannath Prasad at Maharaj's temple, these sannyasis, there's like 30 of them, all God brothers. And they were with Puri Maharaj in that line for 30 years before they took a disciple. And you should see them, they're very transcendental. They just sleep on a piece of wood, 2 or 3 dhotis, continuing sadhu life. Not what goes on in ISKCON, you know. So you can deliver others by delivering them to your guru if you're sincere and you've advanced sufficiently. But don't expect if somebody else to wait all the way to the prema stage, then he can go preach. That's not good for the world, that's not good for you. You need responsibility too. So Prabhupada, what he told us was sit down together. He said no more preaching. He said stop, sit down and read my books. That's what was required, that we would all sit 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, whatever it took, and remain a family and go out and preach. Then you can liberate the whole world. But they didn't want to take that time to get purified and understand the philosophy. And the envy between this one and that one, and it all broke. So that was his last instruction then.
To the same
Sit
point,
down and read my books.
To the same point, Prabhu, if hypothetically all the GBCs and the 11 senior devotees had cooperated among themselves and consistently followed Srila Prabhupada's plan for initiation, how do you understand that plan? By mid-1977, hundreds of devotees were waiting for initiation. In your view, what did Srila Prabhupada intend for the future of ISKCON regarding initiations and Guru Tattva, and how was the intended for function practically?
He expected us to become self-realized. And if they can wait, I just say, this is the last stop. If somebody says, I didn't get initiated, so he leaves, good, you shouldn't have been initiated. Because there's no place to go. There's nothing higher, there's nothing out there. This is it. So let him go. We, Prabhupada said, I just said it, sit down and together get purified. And then we could have gone. But they immediately, without any preparation, fell to Maya. Thinking Prabhupada is a common man, I can do it too. I know a few slokas, you know. And the people were, you know, I used to say, I saw they're just Sudras, most people. They want a leader. They can't think for themselves, so they want you to think for them. So these guys fought for him and used him, manipulated him.
Next is very important and interesting question, Prabhu. So it is well known that you and Yashodanandana Prabhu played a major role in raising funds for the construction of Krishna Balaram temple and Bombay temple as well. Could you please share how Srila Prabhupada entrusted you with this service, how the funds were raised and the circumstance behind that wonderful achievement? Indeed, your name and Yashodanandana Prabhu's name appears above the entire contribution made by the BBT all over the world.
I think people must know. You know, Prabhupada told me to do this. Sodananda came along to assist. You know, he said they won't give me money. My disciples aren't surrendered. They will not give money. I have done what my guru told me. I went to America. I'm translating, but I have a personal desire to see this construction, but they do not want construction in India. So then listening to Prabhupada, said, my head is hot. What will I do? Then I saw, you know, and I said, Prabhupada, from today on, let me have a headache about the money and you write the books. And that's what happened. So then Yashodananda and we collected some men and we were in Japan for, you know, being successful, and that money went to Vrindavan, all of it, and so much construction was done. And then the second year, was that the second year? Or, yes, the second year I went back, Yashodananda came, but he only stayed a couple months and he left. And then I was there, and then the next year when I was there, the money went to Mayapur, then the money went to Bombay, and then Prabhupada said, what do you want next? He said, I want to do something in Kurukshetra. So I said, okay. And so then I said, Prabhupada, I have $150,000 in the bank. What do you want me to do with it? He said, keep it. Keep it for now. Funny story once, I said, Prabhupada, you know, every month I give you everything. But these God brothers, they don't care. They won't help me. If I run out of money, they're not going to help. Probably, yes, you keep 30, 40,000 in the bank. Don't tell anyone. So, you know, many, many stories. Could do 2 books about the adventures of the Namhata. We went through 82 men. Some men 2 months, 3 months, some 2 years, some all the way. It was a transcendental story.
Yes, sir. What are the books you are referring to? 2 books, Namahata?
The name of our party
Okay.
was Namhata Party.
Okay, the books are written on that, Prabhu?
No, the name of our party, Sankirtan Party, was the Namhata.
Okay.
No books.
No books.
Well, we sold magazines.
Yes.
2 million. You know, we had our own, a magazine that fit Japan,
Yes.
that would make them want to give something.
Next question, Prabhu. It has been mentioned by several devotees that you were also offered the position of the Guru after Srila Prabhupada's disappearance, but you declined. Could you please share what actually happened?
All right, back to the lie again.
Yes.
Nobody was appointed. They claimed it. They plotted it. And then they asked me one day, Bhavananda, Bhagavan and Tamal asked me. Tamal, he came to Vrindavan. I was GBC then in 78, at Janmashtami time. He was going to initiate Bhagavan as a sannyasi, okay? So he calls from Delhi, I'm coming, and Bhagavan Maharaj, and you know, have a big greeting party for us, and this and that. And I didn't tell anyone, and I didn't do anything. They came, and there was nobody waiting for them. And they were real upset. So then they said, well, you have to fix Vyasa-san. I said, no, this is Prabhupada's temple. You sit on the floor. Nobody sits up. And if you don't like it, go build your own temple. You know, so this is Prabhupada's temple, you know. So then they called me. I had another run-in with Bhagavan too about Bhagavatam class, talking politics. Gurukrpa, why are you making waves? The only reason, you know, when you tell a lie, you start believing your own lie. You know, I know how that works. You know, people, you know, they killed somebody and they make I'm going to get out of it, and they sit there for a year thinking about their lie, then all of a sudden they start believing they didn't kill anybody. But Tamal's believing his lie. The only reason Prabhupada didn't make you a guru, a guru was he, you know, and I said, what? He didn't make anybody. That's you. You made them. This isn't, we'll make you number 12 next year if you just stay in Vrindavan and stop talking. You know, Bhavananda said, what are you doing here? You're gay. You know, you never did nothing but sit up there and cut some roses while we went out and worked. Same with Jayapataka. I don't know what he did. We were doing all the collecting and he was taking all the credit. You know? I didn't ever care because Prabhupada knew and that's all we cared about. So no, there was, you know, That's the same thing. These guys tried to bribe me. Anyway, it's a bribe. That's the first thing in politics. You throw a bribe, but it didn't work. And then at that same time, Yashodananda Maharaj and Pradumya, then we were all discussing points, and we'd come up with like a manifest or whatever you want to call it. And me and Yashodananda decided to let Pradumya present it because he's more respectable about this, and they think you and me are just off in left field. So that came out. And then others came on, Jadharani and this one, writing things. So many people writing, what is a guru? And when you're watching, I saw Rameshwar, he's a guru now, he comes to Hawaii. You go to the beach. He comes back, got sand all over him, sits down, no tilak, no nothing, and starts eating prasada. He's got 6 or 7 people that are looking for a guru and looking at him, and he's, just acting like an idiot.
So, while Srila Prabhupada's will was being drafted, you had mentioned about an incident wherein the GBCs were trying to divide up the whole world and your name was neglected. Kindly elaborate the circumstances.
I already taught that.
Yes, sir. In your interview with Bhakta Prabhu, you had mentioned that Tamal Krishna took up Srila Prabhupada's personal service in 1977 after Srila Prabhupada admitted that his feet were swelling, as you mentioned, Prabhu. So, your question is that some devotees wonder whether Tamal Krishna's actions had any influence, direct or indirect, on Srila Prabhupada's health.
No.
From your observation at that time, how do you see Tamal Krishna's role in relation to Srila Prabhupada's sickness and overall care, Prabhu?
Srila Prabhupada lost motivation to continue. Kirtanananda, they're going around saying Prabhupada's a cowherd boy. Kirtanananda tried to put Srila Prabhupada on a carrot juice diet. When they did that, Prabhupada became, I'm not a rabbit. And then he called his sister Pishima, just to show who he is. His sister came and he said, make me some sukta and puris and like this. And Prabhupada, you can't eat that. It's not healthy for you. Prabhupada ate a whole plate of it. There's nothing wrong with him. He just lost motive. They wanted him gone, he left. Time to go. Okay, so some say they tried to poison him or whatever. Prabhupada can't be poisoned. His body's spiritual. But we see if somebody had an ill intention to do like this, then they will have to be, just look at the way Tamal Krishna Goswami left his body. That's serious offenses. Die. He had that brown spot up here. I asked the big astrologer, what's that mean? He said, he'll die by head blow. So, yes, look. Falina Farishite, judged by the result. Look at Jayapataka, walking Frankenstein, my God. Hospital after millions and millions and millions of dollars. What is that? Why is that? Prabhupada went in the hospital in London. I was with him in '77. He couldn't pass urine. They stuck a catheter in him, and then he just said, take me to India, I die now. We're fighting to stay here. His ego, he wants to stay. Nothing in history like this man. $500,000 to take a flight back to India. Private jet. 3 doctors, 7 attendants. Ventilators. That's the real case of the world stops when I stop.
Continuation of the same question, Prabhu. Already you explained this, but can you elaborate on other stories indicating ambitious nature of Tamal Krishna and his desire?
I'm not here to talk about him.
Yes.
You ask a question, but he's involved in the question.
Yes.
I don't hate the guy. I knew him very well. He had a good sense of, he was a funny guy. He was smart, but he was, he had a pratishta desire very strongly. And, you know, it's up to Prabhupada what he did with him. You know, I liked him in his own way. It's just that he became, you know, I had a lot of good times with him, but he, you know, just leave it at that. I don't want to talk about it.
Sure, we'll not touch that point too. Last but one question. You had personally built many temples and financed many guided.
I didn't.
Yes, sir.
The non-Hada party did.
Yes, sir.
I was the leader.
Lead.
But, you know, they have all the credit.
Yes, sir. After that, during the time of Zonal Acharya system, many of those disciples were leaving the movement. Did you get to hear any more stories about the pain they suffered? Would you like to share anything to me?
The pain suffered?
Because the people whom you brought in the Namaharta party during Zonal Acharya system, that means 1977, after Prabhupada disappearance.
They were Prabhupada disciples.
Yes, Prabhupada.
They didn't need to be controlled.
Oh.
They just left. Krishna's here. He told me to leave too. Go. I'll always be with you. I'll always protect you. And we went out and became businessmen and made a lot of money, lost money, had wives, lost wives, had kids. Now we understand. Totally. This material world is a prison. This body is a prison. It's all prison. Let's go back. Let's go dance with Krishna. Tired of this place. Or I can go for service, same thing. Up to Krishna and Prabhupada. So I'm an old man now, but you know, no matter what they did, it doesn't bother. Some people really left and went out. Temples are required. Without temples, for people to have something regular, 98% are not going to survive. They need to go to Mangal Arati, need to go to evening Arati, even if you don't live in the temple. You know, you have to go observe all the holy days, and if the temple is there, you're not bored one night, oh, I'm going to go chant in the kirtan, 24-hour kirtan. That is required. But when you go there and they tell you, get out, you're not welcome, or the leader, you don't care for this guy because he's, you know, I don't want to go there. And the people stop. There were times when I'd go for a Sunday feast somewhere and feel depressed when I left. I was happier before I went in. This is what I saw, everything made me depressed. So stop going. And then you may be there and one of these self-proclaimed gurus will walk in and all of us, they just forget about us, and you know, because he's got the, you know, he's branded an ISKCON man.
Last question. Looking back today, what lessons do you feel devotees should learn from the events that followed Srila Prabhupada's disappearance, especially regarding Guru leadership and preserving Srila Prabhupada's instructions?
Just read his books and learn. You need one of his disciples who is a bit advanced to explain those verses more to you, because he has insight. There is unlimited insight in each verse. But there are so many schisms. Over here you have the Ritvik, who are, in my opinion, is not bona fide. You know, it's just their own thing. Because there's always a Vaishnava. Mother Earth can't survive unless Vaishnava walks on it. You know, but then you got, I think, 100 gurus now in ISKCON. Some of them look like fat Mayavadis. They're the disciple of the disciple. And they're definitely there just to eat. You know, they're there for, you know, get followers. I've heard a few of them say, actually one of them, but I understand. It's my retirement plan. It's my profession. What will I do if I don't do this? I'll have to go to work. So there's the, you know, the blind leading the blind, and some other fool who doesn't have Sukriti. Go accept this guy and go get him money, and you know, and you can't talk to them either. You know, they're gone. Anyway, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Hare.
last thing, Prabhu.
Yeah, okay.
It's from your side. So yesterday when we met you, you spoke about Ritvik and ISKCON Bangalore related to your comments on that, Prabhu. Can you please elaborate, Prabhu? ISKCON Bangalore, Ritvik, and comments on that.
I understand the situation. You see, there are many Vaishnavas all over the universe. Krishna is being worshipped in every planet. Vishnu, Krishna, and they, El Rupe Brahmane Kona Bhagyavanji, one very fortunate to meet himself an actual pure Vaishnava. And from the dust of his feet, you will also gradually become like this. But there are so many devotees now I see in ISKCON. They got they're dressing up and they're doing the women and everybody's singing and they got the harmonium all the time. None of them are dancing. All right, that's pious, no harm. But like this, only Lord Chaitanya came, and it was not in existence, Satyajit, Dwarka, Kali till then. He came to give Prem Bhakti, Manomaha, Krishna Prem. He came to give this Krishna Prem. Think about that. Lord Brahma can't have it. Nobody can have it. It's just not available. And he distributed it. So now in the downline, Bhakti Vinod Prabhupada came to distribute. But you take what you want from Krishna. So in this world, there are millions of devotees that want to be a devotee, but in the material world. They're not really intensely wanting to go out of here. They are finding happiness on that level. Family, friendship, loves, have prasada, I don't have dancing. No, you have to work very hard to have that kind of thing. So they are satisfied there. So when you have what was going on in ISKCON and no options or nobody to guide you, then this thing has formed from Yashodanandan Swami. He's a very high philosophical mind. He's the only one that can come up with something like this. He started pushing it, and I disagreed, and then he cut me off. We really never had a heavy discussion about it. But in that way, he's like an acharya in his own right. But you cannot go and put beads in front of Prabhupada's picture and say, I'm initiated now. How you do that? What if he says no? You're not giving him an option. Prabhupada, I heard him say, no, I don't initiate, I don't accept you. He's a person. This is impersonal. You need a person to surrender to. He may not be all the way to the top, but you have to realize he's going, and I'm coming with him. You have to go out and find, but not this Bangalore thing is, Madhu Pandit Prabhu asked me many years ago to help and join that, and I said, no, it's not Shastric. It's not bona fide. We are not Madhvacharyas. This is not our line. Even then, Madhvacharya has his successors that are actually leading up. They're organized. Pichwar and whatever the others are. And ISKCON is a madhouse. There's no unity. So they want to have the downline, Prabhupada, and Madhu Pandit and all these others.
In this situation, what is your
I
solution?
think they're beating their head on the wall, personally.
In this situation, what is your solution, bro? Say,
like I told you,
yes.
Go find a Vaishnava. There are many. You have to look. I at least said, don't say Prabhupada's the only one in Kali Yuga, nobody else. He's Shiksha, for sure, in the English language. Because there is Validev Vidyabhushan Bhakti Sat, other commentaries in Sanskrit and other languages, but in English, Prabhupada has given us the purports. And there are other purports by other acharyas, which you may read them all if you can, and no harm. But Prabhupada is Shiksha. Therefore, we have to be in that line. So, to say there are no other Vaishnavas on the planet, only Prabhupada forever, is very aparad. Blocking everybody. Only Prabhupada, nobody else. You know? That's kind of like saying only Jesus, only Muhammad. Many Vaishnavas. Nobody's going to be like Prabhupada. You won't see in hundreds of years, thousands maybe. Because he's a particularly empowered Nitya Siddha from Krishna's Leela. And everything will go through him ultimately. It goes up the chain. Das, 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 anudas. But to deny people and tell them this mistruth, that Prabhupada's the only one, yeah, he is in a way, but you personally need someone to train you, you know? And to deny that there's somebody there, well, then stay there, but keep it open mind. Understand? Look. Don't be dogmatic and this is us and that's you. This was never, Bhaktisiddhanta's disciples started this thing. Before that group, Jiva Goswami was initiated here, but was taught by this one, They went around. When I was in ISKCON, I went with one devotee to learn how to play the drum. I went with Tamal to learn how to do accounting. See, I didn't know. I wanted to learn everything for Krishna. So you go here to learn Bhagavatam from him, Kirtan from him. Why? We're all after the same goal. But no, this is the point. We should be after the same goal. To get our spiritual bodies back and be back at home, back together in our natural state. So to get into these things, let the Ritviks, they're doing nice. I have some things that I don't see are proper or anything, but I'm not here to correct. I'm trying to correct myself. I'm not ready yet, so I have to work on myself.
The same debate was taken by Yashodanandana Prabhu, as you mentioned, Ritvik debate in 1978 or 79 in Vrindavan. So there is a discussion between Yashodanandana Prabhu troupe and Hridayananda Prabhu's troupe. So there is a recorded debate in Vrindavan. So you are aware of that, and what is the conclusion of that?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
Hridayananda has no realization. I think we're all quite aware of his activities are far away from the yogi class. What yogis do. No, you can't defeat Yashodananda.
We are done.
About